Survivor Series 2010 is somewhat like Survivor Series 2009 in just the sense that it ultimately wasn't very good. I remember seeing reports from people that were at this event. I believe it was in Miami, where they were talking about like half of the venue was tarped off. That's not good. And this was a show that featured one of the members of the Breakfast Club, Randy Orton, in the main event. Again, the show just wasn't very good. The draw heading into it just wasn't very good. The build up to it just wasn't very good. Most of the action just wasn't very good. Well, let me backtrack here a little bit. Daniel Bryan versus DiBiase for the U.S. title was okay. And I emphasize again, just okay. But again, when I talk about 2009, I look back at the disappointment with characters and this and that. I realized DiBiase wasn't the most charismatic fuck in the world, but I never understood why the WWE was so insistent upon trying to make him a ripoff of his dad. It tried so ridiculously, so often to go against the grain with this guy and make him a heel, when clearly everything about him scream fucking babyface. Screamed it! But this match was an okay spotlight for Daniel Bryan. You put the U.S. title on him. Now he's segued into other stuff. He gets a signature victory at a Big Four pay-per-view. Good title defense. There you go. In some ways, I always felt the match of the night was Morrison versus Sheamus. This was pretty good. Not nearly as good, obviously, as our match the next month. That was really, really, really damn good. But this, again, was a good match. And these two guys have pretty good chemistry. Go back and watch their pay-per-view matches from 2010. I'm like, wow, these guys had it going on. These guys did something. Personally, in my opinion, like I said, I thought it was the best match of the night. My opinion. Then you have Ziggler versus Caval. Remember, Caval had an IC title shot. This is how stupid Caval winning Season 2 of NXT was back then. He's supposed to get a title shot at any time, and instead of trying to get a world title shot like Wade Barrett got, he decided he wanted to cash in an IC title shot against Dolph Ziggler. Of course, this is Dolph Ziggler being latched onto Vicky Guerrero, where Vicky Guerrero is more of the focus. She gets more out of being associated with Dolph Ziggler than Dolph Ziggler does being associated with Vicky Guerrero. It's just more of the typical dumb shit. And this stuff with Dolph Ziggler and Caval was just dumb shit. You got Caval being stiff and Caval being fucking Caval, and it's just dumb. It was dumb on so many different levels. Team Mysterio versus Team Del Rio was okay. It's the way I look at it, okay. But then again, I go back and I look at this and I get pissed off. Because I look at, and this is fascinating. Team Del Rio had Del Rio, Tyler Rex, Drew McIntyre, Swagger, and Cody Rhodes. Out of those 5, Del Rio, Rex, McIntyre, gone. Swagger still with the company. Cody Rhodes is masquerading as Stardust. Just think about that for a second. And then I look at the other team, Team Mysterio. Just 4 years ago, mind you, Ray, no longer active. Chris Masters, gone. MVP, TNA, Big Show still hanging on and sucking a paycheck out of him. Kofi Kingston, whereas 2009, he's captaining a team and he's beating Randy Orton. Now here he is in 2010 as a part of somebody else's team. It's just, oh my God, it's just so bad. And it just pisses me off so much when I go back and watch it. Another pleasant surprise on this card, even though it was really damn short, was Natalya versus Lay Cool for the Divas title. Really short, but sometimes really short can work, and I guess this kind of worked. Kane versus Edge for the World Heavyweight Championship was just kind of dumb. It ended in a draw. Not really much to talk about. A tag title match with Gabriel and Slater beating Morella and Kozlov. Again, this just kind of was what it was. I always thought they had a little bit more mileage and a little more legs with Morella and Kozlov than what they ever really were fully willing to go into. But then we get to the match that main evented. We get to the match that filled up half of the arena. We get Randy Orton versus Wade Barrett for the WWE Championship. Now, I remember back on this show, you have Miz making an appearance, and you have Miz as the Money in the Bank winner, and I'm desperately hoping here that at Survivor Series 2010, because I knew this show was going to need it, and as I watched the show, it desperately needed it. I was really hoping we were going to get that big surprise of Miz winning the title this night, that he was going to cash in, and he was going to be the one that left the show the champ. Obviously, that didn't happen. It happened the next night on Raw, and that was a really nice, cool moment, and definitely a nice surprise. The show could he really use this here because this was just so dumb on so many different levels. Here's Wade Barrett main eventing a Survivor Series. And you've already obviously done all you can to make the Nexus look stupid and look like a joke. Well, here's Wade Barrett, title shot against Randy Orton in the main event of Survivor Series. And this match still ends up finding a way to be all about John Cena. Even when this company has a perfect avenue and opportunity to create a new star and take some of the shine off of Cena to perhaps freshen him up a little bit and do something different, they just can't fucking help themselves. This match was not about Barrett trying to win the title. It was not about Orton trying to defend his title. This match was all about John Cena and whether Orton or Barrett was going to win because that would determine whether Cena was freed from the Nexus or he was fired. Of course, if Barrett won the title, he'd be free from the Nexus. If Randy Orton retained his title, then John Cena would be fired. And it all becomes about this big whole thing of how John Cena has to make a stand and he has to make sure he does the right thing, which is count the pinfall for Orton. And it leads to the John Cena being fired storyline, even though he's never off of Raw in any 1 week. And by TLC, he's burying Wade Barrett in that stupid-ass dumb dick chairs match. 2010 was a shitty year for the WWE. And this show right here, to me, was perfectly caught up in the suckage that was the aftermath, the relatively fresh aftermath of the stand up for WWE, even though we're ashamed of being in pro wrestling, and even though this is nothing more than a pathetic attempt at a failed political ad, because we spent $50 million on a fucking campaign, not knowing we were going to lose, even though we should have known we were going to lose. And now you've got the aftermath here, and this is just dumb. It's just bad. And again, when I talk about the things I look back on from even a few years ago that really pissed me off, here's a chance here to have Wade Barrett win the title at one of your big 4 pay-per-views, again, at a time where you really, really need something. You need some spark. You need some sizzle. Here's a guy that was leading the Nexus that just a few months ago was dominating. They were the hottest thing in your company. Now he's jobbing out to Randy Orton, and the story's all about John Cena, whether he's going to be fired or freed from the Nexus. That's how fucking stupid this company's been over the past recent years. This is how out of their way they go to make sure that certain guys are always featured no matter what, no matter whether it's right for business or not. Just because they're too fucking stubborn to admit that anything else would be good for them. And it's that simple. I mean, yeah, they went in a different direction with Miz and it kind of sort of worked out. But again, what's even more ridiculous about this is by the time next month they come around, Wade Barrett's version of the Nexus was basically wiped out and they went in a different direction. So you go with this hot faction that was your dominant storyline in the summer, and by the time you get to the winter, you've lost interest. You couldn't even drag it out to fucking WrestleMania. That's how stupid and ridiculous this is. And this was a period of time where Orton really wasn't helping anybody, I don't think, and really was making sure that it was ultimately all about him. And it was just trash. It was just trash. And honestly, I look back on this show and it is mostly trash. More of the typical disappointing crap you would expect from a PG era WWE Big 4 pay-per-view. That's exactly what Survivor Series 2010 is to me.